Welcome to Tips from the Track, brought to you by goracing.ie and the Tote.com. We're here at the Curragh racecourse this morning as we get set for the Derby Festival weekend, featuring 3 fantastic days racing, including the Dubai Duty Free Irish Derby, which will go to post tomorrow at 5:25. But before we get into that, we have a competitive night's racing ahead of us today, and I'm joined here now by Noel Hayes from the Tote and Martin Murphy from Horse Racing Ireland. Guys, it's going to be a very competitive night's racing. We've a lot to look forward to.
Sure have, Jane, indeed, and lots to look forward to, of course, for Tote punters. We've a €100,000 pick 6 guarantee on each of the 3 days here of the festival. It starts off tonight with a rollover of about 35,000 into the pick 6. Obviously, we have the jackpot guarantees as well of 10,000 on Friday, or 10,000 on Saturday and Sunday, and 3,000 today, Friday. And we've got play spot guarantees as well, 20,000 today and 30,000 on Saturday and Sunday. So lots for the Tote punters as well, obviously. But yeah, lots to look forward to. Great derby to look forward to, but great racing to get our teeth into before that as well.
Excellent. And obviously the Friday evening, it's a great way to start the Derby weekend. Always a nice social, relaxed, fun atmosphere, but obviously a very competitive card as well. And we start there at the 5:25 with the fillies maiden over 7 furlongs. An interesting contest. Aidan O'Brien runs 3 juveniles as well that we haven't seen yet on course, so it's an open contest.
Yeah, look, I suppose it's what you'd expect for a weekend like this here at the Derby weekend. O'Brien with 3, but I think Words perhaps impeccably bred from that yard could be the best with Joseph riding it, but also Curly Locks in familiar colours. David Watchman was very well back last time out in Leopardstown and perhaps can improve for that experience. I don't know if Martin has something a bit better than I have.
Well, I'm not quite sure, Noel and Jane. I thought myself Brown B had a bit of a chance for Colin Keane and Gerald Lyons. Ran quite well, 5th at Leopardstown first time out. His horse has been running very well lately. The ground is good to firm currently at the moment, although we had some overnight rain. I think this one is an each way chance around 10 or 12 to 1. Also maybe a note of Jim Bulger's there, first time out, Vitalised, horse by Vocalised, first season sire for him, and that one could go well if there's a few pound. I think a few pound there this morning, Paddy Powers.
Excellent stuff, and as you mentioned there, the going is good to firm, and obviously not an easy build up for the race course with all the good weather and then obviously the small bit of rain, but conditions seem to be really suitable. And again, we move on to our second race and another interesting contest.
Another very open maiden, yeah, a real head scratcher, I guess, Jane. Here is just a speculative selection for John Ox, right way with Declan McDonough in the saddle. He's not riding the Aga Khan horse further down the card, but he rides this one, so it would be nothing more than a speculative suggestion in this race. A very open maiden.
Well, the likely favourite is Jim Bulger's Fake or I hope I pronounced that right. I hope my Irish teacher isn't watching me. But ran quite well last week, second at Gordon Park to Leafcutter. That was a decent performance. You would expect that to improve, and I'd say that would be the form choice. But I would respect Noel's opinion there. I think John Ox's horse there, right way, was taken over a race at Cork a couple of weeks ago when the ground got very fast. He's by Cockney Rebel, and he wouldn't have to be a whole lot of good to win this first time out. So if there's any money in him, I think right way could be the one to go.
Excellent stuff. And obviously then in our third race we have a UK visitor in David Evans. Horse is very well respected when they run on home turf, and Lager Time is to be well respected. Yeah,
look, he's not making the journey over here without a chance, I guess. A lot of prize money on offer relative to what the race for in England, of course. There's 15,500 here this evening. It's a stable, it has to be respected, and it's a horse in form. It's a very open race though, as these sprint handicaps typically can be. For me, I like the look of Kiss the Stars. I think he probably had a bit too much daylight last time out in Navan and might have just got outdone by Cam Bay, but he's franked the form and won ever since. Kiss the Stars maybe with a bit more cover today. He's ran very well here at the track before, so he'd be my selection.
I think we're just having a look there at Cam Bay as well. Martin, what do you think?
Well, Cam Bay actually only ran last night as Tipperary finished 3rd. He certainly is a much improved performer. He's gone up about 26 pounds in the last couple of runs. He'd have to be respected, but 5 furlongs at the Curragh is a very stiff track. He's probably bound to lead from the start, but I'm not quite sure he's quite good enough to win now because he's gone up so much in the weights. I like Noel's one there. Kiss the Stars has a very good chance, but there's lots more in the race with chances like the likes of Big Bad Lily. Also Strategic Heights has improved an awful lot, but the one I'd be looking at quite interesting is one ridden by Pat Smullen, a horse called Pencil Hill, trained by Tracy Collins. Tracy and her late father Con used to have great records at the Curragh and Derby weekend. I think this Pencil Hill showed a bit of form last time when he was 4th over 6 furlongs. Drop back to 5 furlongs will suit him. Although he is a 9-year-old, he's well drawn in stall 10. I think around 6-7 to 1 he'd be my each way selection.
Excellent stuff. And obviously then we move on to our feature race of the evening, the DoneDeal Premier Handicap. 50,000 on offer in this race, so it's going to be competitive. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think the competitiveness of the race reflects the prize pool. It's an incredibly tough race. You know, a lot of horses we're used to seeing, I guess, running these big handicaps here again this evening. For me, it revolves around Mick Halford's two horses, Pit Stop, who won very well last week in Leopardstown, and also One Diamond, who's been a little bit disappointing, but ran very well here last year as a 3-year-old. So for me, I think I'd be looking for Mick Halford, one or the other. But I'm sure, you know, you could probably pick 8 or 10 horses here with big chances.
Yes, certainly wide open, Jane. Very good prize money as well. 2 horses here that ran away at Ascot, Table Rock from Aidan O'Brien and Third Dimension from Ger Lyons. Third Dimension's was a bit unlucky on that occasion. I think he can come out on top tonight in that little personal duel. But other horses with chances are the likes of Akasaka, even at a big price. But the one I was looking at myself, apart from One Diamond, was a horse of Denver Wells called Jihad Jadan. He only had one run this year over an inadequate distance on very soft ground, which he wouldn't like. I think on fast ground, he won here at the Curragh last year. He also won at the Galway Festival. He's lightly raced, around 9 or 10 to 1. I think he could be one I'd be watching out for.
Very good. And obviously then we move on then to the Apprentice Derby on the card as well. Obviously being Derby weekend and Apprentice Derby on the card, it's probably one of the highlights of their own season. And again, another interesting race.
Yeah, very interesting race. Small but select field, but it just goes to show, in fact, when you look at the jockeys on board here this evening, the depth of talent we have in the apprentice ranks here in Ireland. You know, we really are spoiled for choice. For me, I go for local trainer Dermot Well with Lee Roach, who's in cracking form lately. He's riding Truth Will Set You Free. He's dropped back down to a mark of 82, and I think if he was to repeat his form from a couple of seasons back, where he finished second to Inish Man in Listowel, I think he could be the one that could win this at a tasty price.
I'd have to disagree with Noel there, I'm afraid. I think Truth Will Set You Free's had lots of chances. She's been a little bit disappointing. I think she wants softer ground as well. Now, the step up to 1.5 miles will certainly suit, but she was beating her odds on last time in Sligo, so it's one I wouldn't really recommend to myself. I'm sorry about that, Noel. But I think last year's winner was John Ox, trained the winner, and he's got a big chance here with Curragh. Now, he was a little bit disappointing last time. He was beating her odds on behind Fog of War, Tipperary. That was pretty good form. The other one I'd like is a horse called Cabjoy, trained by Jessica Harrington. Ran very well here a couple of weeks ago, finished second in a good handicap, and then beat a hot favourite last week in the Limerick Maiden. Of the two, I think at the prices, I'm going to go with Cabjoy.
Very good. So no harm to have a bit of healthy debate there as well amongst our panel. But I suppose, no, you're putting your neck on the line in the next race. You have a tip for us.
Yeah, I suppose my strongest fancy of the night runs in this race, and unusually it's Willie Mullins in a flat race. You know, it's not something we're very accustomed to, although he does do well, obviously, with a Royal Ascot winner last week. But Chamar is an import from France, you know, presumably was bought with hurdling in mind, and has performed well over hurdles. He's only ran a couple of times in the flat since he arrived here for Willie. Most notably, he was fourth in the October handicap in Naas last season. That was a hell of a good run, I think. I think, you know, 1 mile and 2 here in the Curragh might be just, you know, the short end for him, but I think, you know, a good long straight, he'll have lots of opportunity to get going, and I think he's a horse that potentially could be well handicapped off his mark here based on some of his flat form.
Excellent.
Well, Jane, with Nathan Carter playing later on, I think the name of the horse here, Chance to Dance, obviously for a lot of people that'll be the one they'll be following, and this one has a really good chance. He won the Cork Derby last time for Jim Bulger over 1.5 miles, dropped back to 1 mile and 2, won't bother him. Very interesting horse, and I think he'll take an awful lot of beating. But one probably a nicer price is a horse that won last year actually over this course and distance. He won this very race. He's only £6 higher. Horse called Stronger Than Me. I think he's been running quite well this season, and I'd just take a chance of him around 7 or 8 to 1.
Very good. That brings us on to our last race then, and obviously, I mean, we were all working very hard and got with our eyes set on Irish Champions Weekend, of course, coming up in September, and a horse with an entry in the ledger is Streetcar to Stars, an interesting contender.
Yeah, listen, second in a listed race last time out as a maiden is a hell of a performance. You know, he's a Sea to Stars horse. You know, we all have very fond memories of him on the track, and we're delighted to see his stock doing so well this year. But I think based on his run in Leopardstown behind Rohern, that, you know, he's a worthy favourite, and he's one that I wouldn't take on. I think here for Tote punters, it's a race to look for an exacta. You know, I think Streetcar to Stars will win it, and I think it's worth looking at Aidan O'Brien's horse, Anis Mirabilis, number 1. You know, maybe for a Tote exacta, just a little bit something different to finish the day instead of a straight win bet.
Yes, Shane, very hard to look beyond Streetcar to Stars. As Noel said, that was a great run last time in a listed race. Mightn't have been the strongest of listed races, and maybe dropping back to 1.25 miles mightn't totally suit him, but he should have outclassed these. He's going to be odds-on favourite, and I think there'll be a lot of people walking home if this lad doesn't actually win. One maybe I'd put in for the forecast is Jim Bulger's Cold Drama. I thought he ran a nice race first time out at Downroy last weekend, finished second in an ordinary enough maiden, but it's bound to improve. I should take maybe her to be second ahead of Anis Mirabilis, but really if Streetcar to Stars doesn't win, I'll certainly be walking home anyway.
Very good. Well, listen, Noel and Martin, thank you very much for your tips. We look forward to a great night's racing and a great start to the Derby Festival.